Is real estate investing for dentists really risky or really responsible? I'm Dr. Nacho Goodman here with my good friend, amazing dentist and human, Dr. David Phelps, and we are collaborating to share his awesome online real estate investing course for dentists. Dr. David Phelps, everyone knows you. You do so many amazing things, but just orient our audience into your dental journey and what you're doing now.
Yeah, real quickly, Paul. So I'm just like everybody here that's watching. I was a real in the trenches, wet-fingered with gloves on dentist for many, many years. But at the same time I was doing dentistry, I always had this affinity for real estate. And I started learning about real estate before I became a dentist many, many decades ago. I won't tell you how many. And so I did both in tandem. In short, I was a dentist by day, and I went to all the CE and became the best dentist I could be, which no regrets. Real estate, I learned how to do that and build up a portfolio. And about 20 years into my practice career, my daughter Jenna, who had already gone through leukemia and epileptic seizures, had to go through a liver transplant. Tough times. And that's when I made a decision I was going to exit clinical practice because I wanted to spend time with my daughter. Nothing wrong with dentistry. I was enjoying that, but I left. And I didn't go back, not begin because I didn't like dentistry. It's just, I had a new life. I had a new epiphany, and my daughter was number one. Freedom Founders came about because people would ask me, well, David, not why did you leave dentistry? It was my daughter, but how did you do it? And that's when I opened the door and said, well, actually, behind the scenes, I've been doing real estate all these years. Well, hey, could you show me how you did it? Gotcha. I said, yeah, I could show you and teach you. But remember, I was a young buck back then. Before I was married, before I had kids, I was out on the streets. I was doing both. I had time. I said, most of you that are asking me this question, you don't have time to do what I did. Or if you try it, it's probably not going to work out very well. So piggyback on some of my deals, and and that's what they did. And then Freedom Founders grew from there. So that's my 60-second, where did I come from?
And I have to say, David, I went to a Freedom Founders event, and I don't want to brag at this moment, but I don't think there's another person outside of me who communicates with more dentists daily. I have 50,000 followers online. I sell practices. I help buy practices, Job Connect. I meet so many dentists. I love it. And the dentists that I've met from Freedom Founders have just been fantastic people and dentists. So the group that you put together are just people doing things for the right reason, kind people. And I really appreciate you doing it for our community. So now let's shift gears. And you talked about, people don't have the time to make the mistakes. They might not have the money to make the mistakes. And you have this amazing group with Freedom Founders, but you've developed this online course, accessible to anyone, affordable. Tell us about this online course that you have going on.
Yeah, and Paul, let me tell you why I did this. I do have a heart for helping as many people as I can, just as you do. I mean, there's things that we've learned along the way. It's like, why do we want younger people, especially in the world we live in today, which I think is a lot tougher than when I was growing up. It's a lot tougher today. Why do we want them to fall off the cliff or make the mistakes or step on the landmines if they don't have to? Freedom Founders, yes, it's a high caliber group, and there's a place for people to be at that. But what about all the people where it's not right for them right now? Not because they're not good people, but they're not. The focus should not be on doing what we do in Freedom Founders, but they also want to learn, how can I be a better steward of my finances? All things. And you do such a great, amazing job with helping with practice and clinical, right? But then they start thinking about, well, I should start investing my money someday. Well, what do I do with that? Well, I can put my money in 401k. Okay, yes, you can. I'm not going to push back against that. That's an avenue to go down. But then people say, well, what about real estate? Everybody's making money in real estate. Well, yeah, there's been a lot of money made in real estate and a lot of things in the last 10 years. But don't forget, there's corrections, there's cycles, there's resets. It's not as easy as it looks. And when I find young docs, again, I love their inspiration or aspiration to do more, to be more. I'm all about that. But just jumping into real estate, like jumping off the pool into the deep end, there's some precautions you've got to look at, right? And it's knowing what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and what not to do is probably even more important. But I love building out the framework as to, when should you invest? When you should be paying off student loan debt or other debt? When should you buy a house? And how do you put these things together? And these are things that I had to kind of learn the hard way, again, through mentors, great people. But I love giving this back to people. So the online course is one where I can shed light in a very consolidated, easy to show up to format or platform. Where
I always tell my wife, I don't interrupt. I just interject with good ideas. But I want to add to something that you said. And, in 2018, I did my first New Dentist Boost Camp, where I brought 20 dentists in person to Philadelphia, and I live streamed the whole thing. This was before the pandemic. And we had about 300 dentists watch in. And I got the most inspiring and poignant message afterwards. They said, "Hi, Paul. I'm a mom from the Midwest. I'm not even a new dentist, but I've been out of dentistry for a while. I wanted to freshen up what I need to know. And I want to thank you for making this online, because I never would have been able to come to Philadelphia. I couldn't have left my family, but I learned so much watching you online. So one of the things, I'm a positive person. One of the things we should take away from this pandemic is how we've all become more familiar with online and live stream technology. And this is what you're doing. You're making this accessible to anyone, anywhere, to watch in on this. And I think we all should be proud that our dental world, whether it's real estate investing, clinical, buying practices, now has all of this content available. So you've done this once before, or maybe more than once before.
Several times, yeah.
Yeah, several times. I mean, tell me about some of the impact you've had on these. First, actually tell me who's a good dentist to take this? Who are the 3 types of dentists that would look to take this course?
Yeah, and I will. And let me just frame it this way. I love interaction. This is not just where David's blasting out to, the universe here. This is engagement. I'm going to limit it to 20 people because I get to know the people and I get to really have conversations. So yeah, three categories of participants have shown up in the past, and it's fun to work with all 3 at the same time and say, well, David, how do you do that? No, you'll understand that wherever you are in your pathway to financial freedom and whatever investing is, you're going to learn from the other people and vice versa.
Right.
So category number 1 is really, I'd say, younger docs, could be just coming out of school or in their early years, and they're trying to build a practice, or they're going from associate to buyer. They're trying to figure out, where do I invest? And they've had this inkling about, well, I need to do real estate. Right. Well, and they think, well, I'll go do it myself, which is where I started. And no harm, no foul. I'll give you guidelines. If that's what you want to do, I'll help you zero in on, does this make sense for you? How are you going to do it? How are you going to balance that with the other things you need to keep focus on? So
you're going to do, David, that's number 1, but you're going to I talk about red flags and associate contracts. You're going to say, we're all people. We could say this is this happy story, or this is disaster. People want to know, how do you avoid disaster? What are the red flags? Exactly. So it sounds like somebody who's just getting started. That's incredibly important, more so than learning what to do, what not to do.
I would say in my life, if I would have taken those courses on what not to do in life, I would have been further along the line, because we always want what's my return? What am I going to get for this? Like, just don't do that. Wow. Right. 0, 100%. So with you there. The next category are probably docs who are a little bit further in career, could be mid-career. And they actually have some capital. They're not thinking about exiting anytime soon, but they got some capital, and they've been doing the 401k and this and that, whatever, all good. Then again, they're thinking, well, hey, I know people in my community. In fact, I've got patients who may do real estate development, or I got a patient who's been just begging me to, loan some money out of their 401k or a self-directed IRA in my deal. And they're thinking, well, that kind of makes sense. But again, what do I not know about that? What should I expect? How do I protect myself? Even though I like this person, they seem like good people, there's still definitely red flags or things that you need to put into the structures to make sure that you're being secured and you have the meeting of the minds and expectations. What does that look like? What conversation should you be having with that person before you even jump in and make a potential deal that, could go bad? Yeah. Third category, probably those that are more apt to be like Freedom Founders members. They're a little bit later in career, or they've amassed and had some liquidity events from practice, maybe multiple practice sales. They've got a larger 401k that they can now self-direct if they wish to do that. So they've got more capital, and they want to be really passive, but they want to be orchestrators of their own financial future, meaning they're not going to go do it. And I don't want to do it myself either anymore, but they want to be able to invest through people that they know, who also have been curated. What's the due diligence look like? How do you underwrite these deals? And the big part in everything in life, Paul, which you do so well, it's not what you know, it's really all about who you know. That's the fast track to anything. And that's what we put together here, is to really give the folks that participate in this that fast track, so they know what to do, but also more importantly, what not to do.
I love that breakdown. And it's so important, for dentists who because dentists can feel like they're on an island in a cave, have to figure out themselves, but you don't have to. I mean, the title of this is Real Estate Investing for Dentists, Really Risky or Really Responsible. The one way to make it less risky is to be more responsible early, before you invest, before I'm someone, David, I'm allergic to using a hammer or fixing things, but I know the stories of someone said, I'm buying this fixer-upper condo, and they've been fixing it up for 10 years. They've lost money. They're annoyed. They're fighting with their spouse, all because they thought it was a good idea to do. So I love that you're doing this. I'm so proud to collaborate. What people can do is they can text REAL, REAL, to 215-543-6454. We will send you back a very generous discount from David on the course. You'll learn more about it. I love that it's limited to 20 people, David, so you get to know them. Is there anything else you want to share with our Nacho audience about this course before we finish?
there's teaching frameworks that you'll get that you can watch on your own. And then we jump in and I go live. They're all recorded. So if you have to miss a live session, you're still going to get the recording of it. You're still engaged. So I like to make it so it's easy, because I can't show up to everything always, but if there's recordings and I'm a part of a group, or in this case, a series, then I feel like I can get the most out of it. And that's important for people to know.
I'm glad you said that. You inspired me to share this. I have an amazing business coach who says, whenever you see a play, you got to see it first to orient yourself, then see it again to understand it. So the ability to listen. So I am someone who's done a lot of speaking. I put a lot of time into learning how to speak. I'm giving a big lecture soon, and I listen to How to Speak by Patrick Winston every time in my ear beforehand, because he reminds me, you want to do this, don't do this. I was listening to it just this morning. So I love that they can get the recordings. Anybody watching in, if you have any questions, you also can just visit dentalnachos.com and we'll direct you to the right place. Thanks so much, David.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul.